Dan,
head, and I don't require a lot of services, those services shouldn't be billed to Medicaid. And that's why we have so much corruption, because these nursing homes work on a bottom line, period. So,
yeah.
so here I am, thrown out of my house that I was born and raised in. My kids were born and raised. I had a homestead prohibiting me from having me removed from my house through a Homestead Act, and they still did it.
How can they do that? If you've got a homestead, they can't kick you out of your
This
house.
is why I need a good lawyer that I've been trying to find to file a civil suit to say, hey, this guy, that's all he had was his home. But I said, they can't take my castle from me. They took my kids, they took my occupation, they took my health, they took everything from me. And I said, they can't take my castle. And they did. They took my castle. And the guy that bought it knew nothing about this, so we sent him a package after he bought it. And the real estate person was so upset, she ran to the neighbor and said, is all of this true? And he goes, all of it. This is only half of it. And it explained that there's a federal lawsuit against my wife and the judge, and that there's a possibility that I could be back into my house. It's a slight possibility, but it may give me monetary awards that I'm seeking that may allow me to go somewhere else.
Purple box
I'm in my purple box.
in March. In winter with snow.
Yep. Went down to my neighbor's house because it got too cold. They took me out by ambulance because they wanted no liability. So I had to pay for an ambulance not once but twice. And it was all out of my proceeds. So what it did is it fed everyone. It fed every friend of the judge. It fed the parent coordinator $3,000. We were supposed to pay half of it. I paid all of it. It fed the lawyer. The lawyer's bill was $60,000, which it really wasn't, but they used the ×2 factor. So I had to pay $30,000 of it. $28,000 I had to pay to a real estate broker at 7%. The times are so poor in real estate right now, if you can't find a real estate agent for 4%, your head is on backwards. So that 3% got kicked back to Michelle, my ex-wife. Then I had to pay $10,000 for the special master to execute the eviction. I had to pay $32,500 for them to store all my possessions, and on the bill of lading, only half of them were mentioned. And then I had to pay another $5,000 to the guardian ad litem, which is a law saying if the court orders it, you don't have to pay it. Those were all the expenses that came out of my proceeds. Then there was a $40,000 elevator that the state paid for me to stay in that house to get up to the second floor. That was supposed to be removed. That is now still attached to the house, and the new owner is using it. I had all biometric fingerprint readers throughout the house. I had all the doors widened. I had walls moved. What they did was they spent my money and gave it to my ex's brother, and they fixed the house, and they got paid $10,000. So the big circle of friends, everyone got paid.
Did your wife want the divorce?
Yeah, oh yeah, she filed for it.
And did she only want this divorce after your accident?
Most definitely. Because I told her when
How did that make you feel?
Well, when I got the first, she put a restraining order on me. And I remember because I was doing a wait shift. And as I was doing the wait shift, I saw the police boots. And I'm like, this can't be too good. So they handed me the restraining order. And everyone still stayed in the house. My wife was there and the kids were there. I was told not to abuse her. I said, abuse her. If you throw a towel in front of me, I'm rendered helpless. So I can't abuse her anymore.
Dan, how could you in a wheelchair, I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but how could you abuse your wife in a wheelchair under your conditions? I don't get this, and I can't imagine why a police officer would say that to you.
William, that's not half of the story. 2 days later, because she couldn't get me out of the house, it's kind of like an NFL coach. They have a game plan of how they're gonna do everything, and throughout the country, the first thing is to get the husband out of the house. So the first restraining order didn't get me out of the house. she proceeded 2 days later to file another restraining order on the kid's behalf in probate court. That didn't get me out of the house, so the police said, listen, Michelle, you're able-bodied and your legs work. Pack your stuff up and go. And that's what she did after she ran me over in the driveway. That's right.
She ran you over in the driveway?
On the way to getting her second restraining order, I was out in the driveway and she couldn't see because she had so much stuff in her SUV, it blocked her rear view mirror. She ran me over with her brand new SUV that she stole funds from my account. The account was set up for me. All the townspeople put money into this account, and she embezzled $12,000, paying for her lawyer, paying for 6 months of her rent, and paying for her new SUV.
Did that make it difficult for you to raise money after that?
Very, because it hit the newspaper, and people needed to know where their money was going, and it wasn't being spent well. So it didn't sit too good with the townspeople.
Dan, did you and Michelle have a Christian wedding? I mean, did you exchange vows till death do you part and that sort of thing?
Here's the other bizarre part of the story. We were both raised Catholic. We both received all the sacraments right up till matrimony, and she went to a parochial school. So Michelle didn't have a good upbringing with her father being an alcoholic, and we're both alcoholics, so we were drinking buddies at the time of marriage.